Hi friends. Okay, I have got a great video for you today. You're gonna love it. I get asked all the time, will I live abroad? Will I ever live in a different country? And it's not the main thing I'm asked or even the third thing I'm asked, but I'm asked that quite a bit. And techniques, there are techniques for you to ascertain if you will live overseas or in a different country. And it's not that hard at all. It's very easy, okay? And I'm going to teach you how to do that today. So yeah. Now, there are three things that indicate living abroad or living in a different country. And one of those things is Rahu. Rahu rules foreigners. Another one of those things is the seventh house or the seventh lord, because the seventh house is the house of foreign residents, and the seventh lord will obviously give the results of the seventh house, which is also foreign residents. Okay, so the seventh house and the seventh lord. And then the other thing, believe it or not, is the sign of Cancer. And the reason that is, Jaimini says that Cancer is a faraway place. Okay, Cancer is the sign of foreign countries. And I know that's kind of counterintuitive because, you think of Cancer as being our home, and our home is, the country we were born in. But that's not the case. According to Jaimini, Cancer is foreign places. And you're going to see that I'm going to give three examples at the end of this talk, and of three women, three famous women who have moved overseas and lived overseas. One of them is Grace Kelly, one of them is Catherine Zeta-Jones, and another is Charlize Theron. Okay? Now, and Cancer plays prominently in two of those, I believe. Yeah, I think that's right. So I already recorded that one, so that's why. Okay, so those three things give foreign residence, but they have to be linked to two things. They have to be linked to something that represents you, which is either the ascendant or the ascendant lord, or the Atmakaraka, and they also have to link to your home. And your home is the fourth house and the fourth lord. But it's also the D4 or the Chaturtamsa Varga chart, the divisional chart of the home. It shows your home, where you live, the type of houses you live in, all that kind of thing, okay? So you have to have the foreign elements link with an element of yourself, the ascendant lord, the ascendant, or the Atmakaraka, and then have that also link to a fourth house indication, which is fourth house, fourth lord, or those things in the Chaturtamsa, okay? Or the ascendant in the Chaturtamsa, in the D4. Now, so living and traveling to a different country are totally different things. And you can see traveling to a different country, those things are represented by the ninth house or the 12th house, and either of those linked to the third house. The third house is the house of traveling, of the act of traveling, going to the airport, getting on the airplane, getting in the train or on the train, driving your car cross country. All of those things are third house things, the actual movement. But then going to a different country is either ninth house or 12th house. And ninth house is going to a different country to experience, to learn, to see a different culture, and enjoy yourself, basically, and mainly to learn about a different culture. 12th house traveling is like traveling to Bora Bora, or Antarctica, or the tundra of Alaska. It's traveling to get away from it all. It's traveling to the Himalayas to go stay in a monastery, to get away from people, to get away from the hustle and bustle, and to kind of hide yourself, because the 12th house is a hidden house. So you're like hiding from the world, but you're doing it, you know, to escape. It's basically an escape, but it's also to, you know, rejuvenate, rest and relaxation, and then also contemplate yourself. A lot of people do it for spiritual reasons. You know, a lot of people will go off the grid, to travel and just go off the grid and live off the grid for a while and not have any interaction with civilization. There was this story not too long ago of this guy who went to France, actually, to live on a farm in France and didn't tell anybody, didn't tell his family or anything, and he didn't want anybody to know. He was the type of person that was very introverted and just wanted to get away from it all and go out in the countryside. And that's what he did, and his family reported him missing. So that is the 12th house type of traveling, okay? Whereas, you know, the 9th house is more for enjoyment and learning and interacting with the people that are there, okay? Now, that's totally different than living in a different country. Living in a different country involves all those things that I just mentioned, and that's what I'm going to concentrate on today, because I'm going to do a different video for traveling to see if you're going to travel during that year, or, you know, that or Antardasha or whatever it is, okay? So let me back up here. My light's shining. Okay, so what you're going to look for is, you know, those things that I mentioned in the beginning, the foreign factors, the self factors, and the 4th house factors linked. Most of the time you want to see them conjoined, but Rashi aspects will propel those things further. They will help, you know, get you to a foreign country if there are other conjunctions within the chart that show foreign residence. Okay, now here's some lesser rules for that that will help that along, that will even push you further in that direction. Okay, the same planet rules the 4th and the 7th house cusp. Now that usually happens when you have a Pisces or a Virgo ascendant. In the case of Pisces, Mercury will rule your 4th and 7th house cusp. In a case of Virgo, Jupiter will rule your 4th and 7th house cusp. That people who have those ascendants tend to, if other factors are showing it as well, they will move. They have a higher tendency to live in a foreign country, okay, because they have one planet ruling those 2 house cusps. That doesn't happen all the time. They'll rule the same Rashi, or the same sign, those 2 signs from the ascendant, but not necessarily the house cusps. And in this video, you want to look for the house cusps, okay? Campanus house cusps. So if you see someone with a Virgo or Pisces ascendant in their Rashi or their birth chart, make sure you look at that. Look for that thing, okay? Now, and another thing that pushes this along, when you have the 4th house Lord in the 8th house, and especially if it's in the 8th house, and the 8th house is a movable sign, meaning it's either Aries, Cancer, Libra, or Capricorn, okay? Those signs like a lot of change. They like to move around a lot, but the change that happens to those signs are very big changes. They're not small changes. And the 8th house is major life-changing changes, you know. So when you see the 4th house Lord in the 8th house, that can go a long way to propelling someone to living in a completely different culture in a different country, okay, from where they were born. Okay, for timing residence in foreign countries, you want to look at all of those things I mentioned about linking foreign residence with the home and the person, their body, meaning the Atmakaraka or the Ascendant Lord or the Ascendant. You want to look for any Mahadashas and Antardashas running that, first of all, will bring a major change, maybe the 8th house Lord or a planet occupying the 8th house, or if or those seventh house and Rahu, the seventh house lord, a planet in Cancer. Any of those if that's running, then it's very likely the person may move to a foreign country, and look for antardashas showing those things as well. Okay, and it should link all three: the person, their home, and the foreign influence. Okay, and also they can move when they have they can move to a foreign country when they have the 8th house lord in a movable Rashi, or they can also move if they have the 10th house lord in a movable Rashi, because a lot of times people will move to foreign countries for work, for their career, and especially if it's in a movable Rashi and it's linked to those other foreign influences, then a lot of times that 10th house lord in a movable Rashi or a movable sign will get them to a foreign country. Okay, so yeah, that's it for now, and I'm going to show some examples right after this. Okay, thanks. Okay, so here we have the chart of Grace Kelly. Grace Kelly married the King of Monaco, or the Prince of Monaco. He might have been at the time, I don't remember, but obviously a foreigner, and Monaco is a country in Europe, and it's on the Mediterranean. So here you will see some of these principles in action. Grace Kelly's Atmakaraka is Venus, and Venus happens to be the 7th lord. In the 7th house is Rahu, and Venus rules Rahu. So Rahu is aspecting, or Rashi aspecting, this is Rashi aspects, his lord, Venus, which is also her Atmakaraka. So that links herself, her person, with foreigners and foreign residents. And she ended up marrying a foreigner. So that's pretty telling in her chart. Now, the 4th lord is Saturn, and the 4th house is Aquarius, and Saturn isn't involved with anything foreign in the Rashi chart. Now, when we go to the Chaturtamsa, or the D4, we can see that this ties together. So the 7th and 4th house cusp lord, these are the Campanus house cusps that fall into the divisional chart, or the D4. So the 4th house cusp and the 7th house cusp is ruled by Venus, and Venus is also the Atmakaraka. Venus is in Cancer, okay? And Venus is Rashi aspecting, because it's the 7th lord and the 4th lord, it's Rashi aspecting Mercury. She was in Mercury Mahadasha and Rahu Antardasha when she moved to Monaco and got married. So she's got the foreign influence of the 7th lord aspecting the Mahadasha lord. Also, Mercury rules the 8th house cusp in this chart, so major, massive changes, a complete life change. And it's also in the 4th Rashi from the Ascendant in this divisional chart, okay? She was running Mercury Rahu. So this is really telling, because Rahu rules foreigners and foreign residents. And so she got married and moved to Monaco, and in this chart, Rahu is also in the 7th from its Mahadasha lord, which is pretty interesting. So Grace Kelly's chart is a great example for this technique. Moving on, this is Catherine Zeta-Jones' chart. And she is Welsh. She was born in Wales and moved to Los Angeles in 1996. She was running Mercury Saturn, okay? So in Catherine's chart, her Atmakaraka is the moon. It's in the 4th house, and it is conjoined Rahu. and Rahu's in the 4th house. So foreign residence. Again, both of these things point the link her being her Atmakaraka with foreigners and with her home. All of these things show a foreign residence. And then she was running Mercury Saturn, and at the time, Mercury is the 7th lord. And I was saying before, you know, if you have a dual sign ascendant, a lot of the time, not all of the time, but a lot of the time, your 4th or your if you have a Virgo ascendant or a Pisces ascendant, then usually your 4th and 7th lord will be the same, but that's not the case in her chart because she's got Sag ascendant. But the 7th lord is Mercury, and that was the Mahadasha she was running at the time that she moved to Los Angeles. So yeah, that was what she was running. Saturn doesn't really fit in here because it's not in Cancer, it's not in the 7th house, and it doesn't rule the 4th house or anything. But if we go to her Chaturtamsa, this is her D4 Chaturtamsa chart for Catherine Zeta-Jones. You'll notice that she has, in the ascendant of this chart, of this D4 chart, she has Rahu there. So this chart represents our home and where we live, and whatever is in the ascendant is very important. So Rahu is there indicating foreign residence. She was running Mercury Saturn. So Mercury is here conjoined at the 4th house cusp in this chart. And Mercury is also the ascendant lord of this Chaturtamsa. And Saturn is the 8th lord and the 4th lord, Rashi aspecting that Mercury. And also Mercury is conjoined the lord of the 7th cusp, Jupiter, in this chart as well. So yes, in Mercury Saturn, that's when she moved to Los Angeles. And anytime you see, whenever you have the Antradasha lord, like here she has her Antradasha lord Saturn ruling the Mahadasha lord, anytime you see that in a Varga or in a divisional chart, that usually shows a major significant event pertaining to that chart. So since she was running Mercury Saturn, that was very very significant in the event of her home and where she lived and her residence. Okay, so yeah, that's Catherine Zeta-Jones. Pretty, this is a very good example as well. Okay, so we'll pause. Okay, so this is the chart for Charlize Theron, and she was a model, and then, well, she was a dancer first, then she was a model, and then she moved to Los Angeles to pursue a career in acting. And she left South Africa, that's where she's from. She left South Africa when she was 16, and she did some modeling in Italy, and then she moved to Los Angeles permanently, or America permanently. So so she left her home and moved overseas when she was running K2 Mercury. Okay, so let's look at her chart. Charlize Theron, her Atmakaraka is Saturn. So Saturn is here in Cancer, the sign of foreigners. Okay, and her 7th lord and her 4th lord, remember what I was saying about Pisces and Virgo giving a higher instance of foreign residence, just because usually, not all the time, but usually the same planet will rule the 4th and the 7th house. So, you know, that's just another factor you can factor in, right? So, Jupiter rules her 7th house. Jupiter is in the 8th in a movable sign. And yeah, she was running K2 Mercury. And yeah, so the whole, it ties in her being in a foreign residence or going to a foreign place, her being involved with foreigners, with that Atmakaraka of Saturn in Cancer. Okay, and so let's look a little further. And oh, and the other thing too is she has the fourth lord Rashi aspected by Rahu. The Rashi aspect will give it, but you need to have more things confirming foreign residence. A Rashi aspect from Rahu alone will not do it. You need more conjunctions, in other words. Okay, so let's look at her D4 or Chaturtamsa. This is Charlize Theron's D4 Chaturtamsa, her divisional chart showing her home and her residence. So the seventh lord is also, here again, she has a Pisces ascendant. So again, a higher chance of living overseas at some point in your life, because Mercury rules both the fourth house and the seventh house. Mercury is here, and Mercury is conjoined K2 and Mars. And she was running K2 Mercury when she left home and moved away from home permanently. And then also Mercury being the seventh lord and the fourth lord ties in with an identity factor. Her Atmakaraka is Saturn here in Aries, in a movable sign. So yeah, when she was running K2 Mercury, K2 being aspected by Mercury, joined with Mercury, and then also being Rashi aspected by her Atmakaraka Saturn, and also being ruled by Saturn. This shows this is tying her in with moving overseas, because Mercury is the fourth and seventh lord. You've got all of those things tying in, and then also you have Rahu Rashi aspecting that that Atmakaraka. You also have Rahu Rashi aspecting that the ascendant lord of this divisional chart. So you see how that works, how she's definitely going to live overseas at some point, and pinning it down as to when, you really have to tie in the fourth house, the seventh house, and some type of identity factor. Okay, so that's it for today, and thanks for watching. Bye.